Hello everyone, welcome back to GGN. This is part 2 for this news report today. We were just covering the Mideast. We're kind of moving in towards Central Asia, and here we go. So 5.9 magnitude quake hits Afghanistan and Pakistan, and it says here there was no reports of casualties or damage. But it's interesting because there's a lot of heat going on in Pakistan and Afghanistan, especially regarding the Taliban. 53 killed, scores wounded as Taliban attack Afghan court. So it says a trial of a group of Taliban detainees led to a massive attack and bloodbath today in the city of Farah when a number of Taliban stormed the courthouse and engaged in an all-day gun battle in an attempt to free them. Starting with a car bomb at the entrance, they stormed the court, attacking the courtroom and the prosecutor's office. 53 people are confirmed dead, including 9 of the attackers. Like I said before, the U.S. pays the Taliban not to attack their trucks and convoys, whereas the NATO forces do not pay the Taliban off to not attack them. So it's usually NATO vehicles are attacked. So Taliban militants set 10 U.S. military vehicles ablaze in Afghanistan. They claim to have torched about a dozen NATO supply trucks and oil tankers parked inside the U.S. military's Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan. So as the U.S., quote, pulls out and Russia is actually eyeing to go back into Afghanistan, Afghan heroin claims over 1 million lives since NATO operation began in 2001. Russian drug control chief says over 1 million people have died from Afghan heroin in the world since 2001, and the NATO operation against drug production in Afghanistan is ineffective. Since the 2000, the Enduring Freedom Operation in 2001, over 1 million people have died from Afghan heroin. It says, moreover, over $1 trillion US is invested in the international organized crime of selling heroin. So it says here that there was a colossal increase of heroin production in Afghanistan, over 40 times amid the Operation Enduring Freedom in 2001. And also that areas with opium poppy increased by 18%. North Korea approves nuclear strike on the United States. At least that is what we're told. Everybody's running around freaking out about North Korea. North Korea dramatically escalated its warlike rhetoric on Thursday, warning that it had authorized plans for nuclear strikes on targets in the United States. So it says here that the North Korean military said that war could break out today or tomorrow. The moment of explosion is approaching fast. It's like I mentioned just yesterday that there's a good chance they're not even capable of carrying out any kind of strikes on the U.S. mainland. Maybe some imperialistic bases of the empire, such as Guam and Hawaii, where they've defeated those people and enslaved them. By enslavement I mean put up malls, and they still live in shanty towns. So not all of them, but many of them. That they can't hit the U.S. mainland. Maybe these little bases. But also, how do they know, besides just going off the North Korea's own television and what they're telling their people, how do they actually know that they actually signed orders? They don't. All they can do is, because I imagine they don't really have all that much intelligence in there, that they're just going off the propaganda that the government's putting out to maintain, basically, the trust of their people, that they're going to be strong. And why are they doing this? They're doing it in reaction to everything that's coming out of the United States with sanctions. But North Korea, it sucks the position that they're in, because no matter what they do, again, they're going to be playing into the hands of these globalists. So, and what do I mean by that? They're going to be able to help U.S. militarize the Pacific. The behavior of North Korea is providing fuel and energy for the U.S. militarization of the Pacific, says Michael Burns, American political and military analyst. On Thursday, North Korea warned its military is allowed to wage an attack on the U.S. with smaller, lighter, diversified nuclear weapons. Okay. Says that Chuck Hagel, the Department of Defense Secretary, said that North Korea threat is real and clear danger to U.S. However, some believe that the tensions on the Korean Peninsula are just an excuse for the U.S. to intensify its militarization of the Pacific. The U.S. has been saying to China with an expression of bold-faced duplicity that their so-called pivot to the Pacific in respect of putting troops in Australia, putting ships in the Pacific Fleet, has no relation to the posture towards China. I will call it a bold-faced lie. It says it would be an insult to all liars in the world. North Korea has put on the table a great opportunity to justify U.S. Buttressing up of its Pacific military posture, in specific its weapons systems on Guam, its support for the militarization of Japan, and South Korea and its general bellicose posture towards China. Okay, so concerned officials warn North Korea could explode a high-altitude nuclear device over the United States. So, yeah, I don't really know too much about this, but you can go there and check it out. Then more crap coming out. Rick Perry says North Korea wants to blow up Texas to stop my awesomeness. So this comes from the left-leaning rawstory.com, so they're making fun out of them. But it's a good justification to go on the offense. Following the news, the North Korean government photo had revealed plans to strike cities in the U.S. Many were confused about why Austin made the list, along with obvious targets like Washington, D.C. and San Francisco. But on Wednesday, Perry explained to CBS that North Korea's military strategy made perfect sense considering the success Texas had during the last 12 years he had served as governor. Representative Peter King says U.S. could make preemptive strike on North Korea. Said on Tuesday, the U.S. had the right to take preemptive military action against North Korea if there was solid evidence that Kim Jong-un planned to attack the U.S. or South Korea. If we had good reason to believe there's going to be an attack, I believe we have the right to take preemptive action. So I don't think we have to wait until Americans are killed or wounded or injured or anyway. So I'm not saying we should be rushing into war. Well, they are, because Zionists like him back the bill that was just signed by South Korea and America, the United States, that said even in the lowest level of a threat that the United States would be there to the end to defend South Korea. So all they have to do is provoke something so they can go on the attack, which they're doing. They're doing a lot of provoking to carry out a preemptive attack. So it is like Groundhog Day. South Korea says North Korea missiles don't target U.S. as Washington shows military buildup. South Korea's defense minister announced that North Korean ballistic missiles are not targeting mainland U.S. territory as the American showcase of power in the South provokes North Korea to resort to a last-ditch nuclear argument. Interesting. So South Korean correspondent says that U.S. pursues its own interests when getting more involved in the conflict, saying it continuously monitors and gains more influence in the region. Quote, they are technically trying to get back to East Asia to be able to counter China and its growing power in terms of the economy, and why not use North Korea? So this is where we left off over North Korea helping U.S. militarize Pacific, and ended with this: U.S. to send missile defense to Guam over clear North Korea danger. All right, so kind of segueing into some different news, we have this article from InfoWars. Corporate media demonizes parents who fled with children. The actual video says Infowars.com blamed for abduction, but I don't know why they would say that. But basically, the point is that these parents both have their children and they're being basically accused of kidnapping. A news report aired by a television station in Florida and Tampa covering the alleged kidnapping of 2 children by father described as anti-government prominently features Infowars.com's stencil logo, insinuating that Alex Jones' popular website influenced whatever the man's criminal behavior. So again, this is kind of I don't like how they covered that, but either way, it says after armed police kidnap children, parents fight back. The parents are demonized as anti-government terrorists. That's all you really need to know. But they're trying to say that it's just to build credibility. Every once in a while I like to go into InfoWars and stuff like that, but for the most part, like I said, they're there to engineer the 10% for the revolution, the controlled opposition. And so with that being said, Utah survivalist Mountain Man captured after a standoff. Says a fugitive survivalist known as Mountain Man, wanted by authorities for allegedly breaking into several Utah cabins over 6 years, has been arrested following a gunfire exchange at a remote cabin in central Utah. He had evaded capture for 6 years while living off the land, according to authorities. So he was dubbed Mountain Man and likened to 19th century American frontiersman Davy Crockett by law enforcement officials and locals for his outdoor skills and hardiness for often outmaneuvering police on foot in rugged terrain. Then we have Virginia police confiscated disabled Connecticut vet's guns for refusing psych exam over spinal injury. So that's the full story of it, but I've already covered this, so I believe he's a Navy vet. February 5th, 2013, my Veterans Hospital primary care doctor called my home and heard a message and said the VA contacted the local police to perform a wellness check. The police came to his home without any justification, hauled him off to a psych evaluation to a local hospital. Confiscated his guns and his pistol permit. This is like last year from May, exactly the same time, 2012 of last year. Wounded military vet's guns confiscated by DC police, and he can't seem to get them back. Now, this is a crazy story. Gun criminal Snoop Dogg releases anti-gun song, hypocritical gun control ballad from a man who previously said, "I wouldn't be the nigga that I am if I didn't pop a niggas in their mouth. So you can go in there and check it out. His new video called No Guns Allowed. He's now called Snoop Lion, that's right. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. You know, I definitely think he's a Mason, kind of like what's his face? I think he's a basketball player, Shaq, showing off his ring. But yeah, he was the one that created GGN actually after I did, and steals a lot of my thunder. So when you type in GGN, you see his crap content material taking up my, taking up the ability for viewers to find my stuff easier. So who knows if it's a PsyOp, but some Delaware public officials, I mean, I don't think I'm that important, that much of a threat to warrant Snoop Dogg working for the agency for the man. Some Delaware public officials aren't shy about packing heat, so after all this, many ex-cops in public service say they go armed on occasion. So it goes in here and talks about how these mayors and these officials for the government actually conceal and carry themselves, but they just signed one of the most stiffest laws besides Colorado and Connecticut for gun control. Kansas issues record number of permits for concealed guns in March. Record number of Kansas citizens applied for permits to carry concealed guns in March, exceeding records set during the past 2 months. Soldier dying after being exposed to uranium in Iraq must raise 110,000 pounds for treatment because the NHS can't help her. So her name's Katrina Brown, 30, was exposed to radioactive material in Basra. So she has some rare systematic sclerosis, which is slowly attacking her organs. She believes the illness is linked to exposure to depleted uranium. Her only hope is to have stem cell transplant in a bid to regenerate her organs, but the procedure is not available in the NHS, and the health service says it cannot pay for the transatlantic care. So she's trying to find 110,000 pounds to fly out for an operation in America after being turned down for funding by a host of charities. Well, so we'll see. You know, the U.S. Obamacare and all that's based off the NHS system, so that's probably what we're going to get in the future. Another shooting at major U.S. military base kills civilian employees, so this is the third time in a month. Yet another shooting incident at the U.S. military base. Civilian Army employee had been shot to death at Fort Knox Army Base in the state of Kentucky. So definitely there's something going on here. This stuff doesn't just happen. You know, there's a lot of checks and protocols and stuff like that happen to avoid that stuff. So I don't know if it's sabotage or what, but the other stories are what's going on with Texas, with sheriffs and government officials being attacked and blaming it on white supremacists, and Aryan Brotherhood plays substantial role in Texas Tarrant County crime. So said a Texas prison gang known for extreme violence and illegal drug dealings has deep roots in the county, local drug officials said. Cops hunt 2 gang members in Colorado prison murder. They're associated with the white supremacist gang 211 crew. So this is, of course, for the murder of state prison chief Tom Clements. So the Post notes one working theory on the murder, that it was retaliation for an attempt to dilute the strength of the 211 crew by moving several of its leaders from Sterling Correctional Facility, where Evel served time, to Buena Vista Correctional Complex. I saw this yesterday. West Virginia sheriff shot and killed outside courthouse. West Virginia sheriff with a reputation for cracking down on drug dealers, i.e. the cartels that infiltrated in the country, was shot in the head at point-blank range and killed outside the courthouse. Outside the courthouse. This is like from Collateral or something. This is a specialized professional hit. The guy was eating. He was known to eat lunch in his car or whatever, and fired twice into the vehicle. Suspect then calmly walked to his truck. Mexican drug cartels reportedly dispatching agents deep inside the United States. Remember, we already covered this from April 1st. Then I saw this article, 9 bodies found in truck in Mexico border state. Prosecutors in the Mexican border state say that bodies of 9 men have been found in an SUV with Texas license plates. All the victims have been dismembered. So you're going to see something interesting in the future as this economy degrades and stuff, which is these drug cartels. This could well be, this is a conspiracy theory of mine, who knows, but it could well be that the CIA or some of these agencies and black ops, clandestines, are working and carrying out assassinations against sheriffs. They will be blamed on white supremacists and gun advocates and drug cartels. And when all the megacities grow and everybody's pushed off out of the megacities, if they're not pushed in, off to the wastelands, who do you think is going to be the government for them? the drug cartels. And who the drug cartels is owned by?